नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. So we were in the story of Bhishma and Satyavati, etc. last time. So we had reached that stage where Shantanu, the king, was no more. He is no more. He's also lost, and Satyavati has also lost the two sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Both are no more. So basically, there is the kingdom of Shantanu, the Bharata Vamsha as it's called, which has got no king, it has got nobody to take over as the next generation as well. And there is absolute crisis. And Satyavati, the queen mother, had gone to Bhishma. So she had told him, "O greatest of Dharmishtas, I am going to give you a very important task, and first listen properly to what I say, and then you must try and do just as I say. My son, your dear brother has died even as a young man." Brother is Vichitravirya. Even he has died as a young man. The two queens of your brother, the daughters of Kashi Raja, they have no children. They are young. And son, the great responsibility of Vamsha Vriddhi, the continuance and the prosperity of the royal family and the lineage of your father now rests entirely upon you. So my son, I shall anoint you as the king, and then you should marry Ambika and Ambalika as per dharma, and you should beget children. Now this is a dharma karyam that you must do. Please do this and save your pitras from falling into hell. This is what she tells him. Bhishma has played absolutely properly to his role right from his birth. Vichitravirya and Chitrangada are much younger than him, but he has been taking care of them. He has been taking care of the kingdom, etc. All of that, but he never, because he has given that pratigya, he has never been the king or anything of that sort. But he is all this and more. So now his mother comes, Satyavati comes and tells him this, and he replies, "Mother, no doubt you have spoken words of dharma. But I will neither take up kingship, nor will I have any relationship with women whatsoever. Mother, you know well the pratigya that I have made, which I made as shulka for your wedding to my father. I cannot break that. Satyavati satyam te pradijanyama, Satyavati satyam te pradijanyamiham punah." So Satyavati, I am going to reassert that to you. Parityajyam trilokyam rajyam deveshu va punah yadvapi adhikametabhyam natu satyam katanchana. I will be willing to give up the kingship of all the three worlds. I will give up the kingship of Devalokam, or if there is anything which is superior to these two, I am willing right now to give up that as well, any right towards that as well, but I cannot give up my right to Satya whatsoever. It is not possible. त्यजेच्च पृथिवीं गंधम आपश्च रसमात्मनः ज्योतिस्तथा त्यजेत रूपम वायु स्पर्श गुणम त्यजेत. Let the earth lose its sense of the sense fragrance. Earth element is connected with fragrance. Let earth lose fragrance. Let water lose its rasamatmana, its nature of rasa, wetness. Let the light lose its connection with form or color. And let Vayu lose its nature of touch. Let the sun and fire abandon light. Let the sky renounce the sense of sound. Let moon lose its coolness. Let Indra lose its valor. Let Dharmaraja turn his face away from Dharma. But I cannot even entertain a thought of renouncing Satya. Even if the universe gets destroyed, even if I were to be given immortality, I cannot break my pratigya. Now, Satyavati is Queen Mother. So she is not going to give up her argument because an adamant son is making a strong statement. She's on the job, so she tells him, I know you. I know your Satya Sthiti, your abidance to truth. I know you are a Satya Parakrami. I know that if you wish, by your own power, you can create 3 worlds. Icchan sajet tatha trin lokan anyan svam svena tejasa. You are capable of that, I know that. I also know the promise that you made for my sake. I know that. But then, you should also keep in mind, apad dharmam tvamavekshya vapaitamahim dhruvam. You must keep in mind apad dharma. And keeping in mind apad dharma, you should now be willing to take on the responsibility of the yoke, of the burden, of the Rajya Bharam of your forefathers. In this context that we are talking now, there is one aspect of dharma called apad dharma. When there is great calamity which is facing you, then some rules will change. And Varnashram dharma, the dharma for each individual person based on what age it is, what part of what lineage is born, etc. There's a lot of things. It's not straightforward. Like 8 things or something like that. Dharma is a complex topic. But that said, there are certain samanya dharma which everybody observes. Satyam vada dharmam chara, etc. There are Atiti dharma. There are many common samanya dharma. That said, when there is a calamity, then for example, there are different sets of rules apply. If your life is in danger and you have to lie to save your life, you can lie. Your life is in danger, somebody is trying to kill you, you can kill that person back. It is not murder. You don't carry that sin. They are apad dharma. The whole family is in calamity. He has to give up his pratigya. He can. It does not bind him anymore. So she is reminding him of that. Apad dharma. There is apad. Apad is because after all he made that promise for the sake of his father. That father's pindam is in peril for the future. There is no one to take care of the paraloka hita of the entire vamsha. So you must do that, she tells. Now, but then she knows very well that she can't force him, so she very nicely tells him, so please do whatever is right. So that the Vamsha Parampara does not end. At the same time, Dharma in all its fullness is not transgressed. And all well-wishers are stakeholders, whatever you call it, well-wishers here, are happy. So she was pleading like this. So Bhishma said, Rangi dharman avekshasya mamnas sarvan vyaninasha. Queen, mother, please see, keep dharma in mind, and please don't mana sarvan vyaninasha. Don't destroy us all. You are intent on destroying us all. Sarvanasham. For a Kshatriya to slip from Satya is not allowed under any dharma whatsoever. He's saying. She's waiting for an answer. So he says, but, Queen Mother, Chantanorapi santanam Yada syadakshayam bhuvi tatte dharma pravakshami kshatram rangi sanatanam. So that the lineage of my father remains continuously existing forever. There is a provision in dharma, and which is in accordance with the timeless, eternal Kshatriya dharma. So, having listened, I will tell you, and after hearing what I say, you can consult Purohitas, elders, scholars who are well versed in Apat dharma. This provision kicks in when there is Apat dharma. It is not a general available provision. You can consult the elders and scholars who know Apat dharma, and then keeping in view Lokatantram, the ways of the world, Vyavahara wisdom, you may decide. So he tells her, in this situation, Apat dharma allows you to call some Gunavan Vipra, a good Vaidika or a Tapasvi or a Rishi, and by the means of the grace of that person, the two princesses may be blessed to have progeny. So the footnote in Mahabharatam, Gita Press edition, will also tell you that what the Shastra says and how it's to be executed and all that. So, firstly, Antaram Dikshit, Shengal Prabhu, Dikshit, etc., in his exposition will not get into this at all. They will kind of skip this entire, saying that it is not meant for this yugam. It is not, because this entire rule is not meant for this yugam. It is not possible to do this in this yugam at all. In Kali Yugam, it's not possible. It requires a certain type of character, etc., which doesn't exist now. So it is a dharma which was meant for at that point in time. So it is. So it's that what does it want? So it's assumed that such a person, when he approaches the queen or princess or whatever, that person should be absolutely ugly. Make himself ugly. Totally ugly. And he will not speak a single word. One word should not be spoken. And he should have his senses totally under control. He is a person who should have his mind totally under control. Absolutely. These four, first ugliness is possible now. Rest are very difficult. The rest, senses under control, mind under control, not speak a single word, all of that. And then after the dharma is done, he should conduct himself like he would with his daughter. That's it. This is the dharma. And so he only tells that this provision is possible. You can decide after talking to scholars who are well versed in Apad Dharma. Now Satyavati breathes. The Queen Mother, she has a larger picture. So she says, what you say is indeed the truth. Now my son. Then she blushes a bit. And she tells him, the time has come for me to tell you something. The time has come for me to share a secret with you. And I am doing that because I have full faith in you. In this desperate situation, I cannot but disclose this to you. Oh Bharata Shrestha, you would have heard many years ago of the great king Vasu. Bhishma is listening. Satyavati says, you would have heard of the great king Vasu. I am his daughter. This fact was not known to Bhishma. I am his daughter. My father's seed got swallowed by a fish, and I was born in a fish. My mother, that means the fish, was caught by the chief fisherman when he was fishing. And I was in the womb. He took her, my mother, home after catching. And then when they cut that fish up, they found me. And so he didn't have a child, so he adopted me as his daughter. And he brought me up as a daughter. My mother, she says about the fish, very nice it is. Mama Mata. Now, my father had a boat. Fisherman, king, he had boats. He had a boat which he also used to use for dharmartha. Meaning, it's not for hire, but for dharma karyam it can be used. This girl, the chief fisherman, king's daughter, means the chief fisherman's daughter, like a princess of that community. She took hold of that boat, she used to ply it here and there. Also, mother is a fish, so the water is absolutely her home. She would ply it here and there. So one day, one Rishi came. That Rishi is the one who relates Vishnu Purana, Parashara Rishi. Parashara Rishi came and he has to cross that river. So, Dharmartha the Karyam. So, she offers her, in this boat, I'll take you across. He says, fine. Now, this destiny is working. And Parashara, the Rishi, realizes that this is the one with whom he has to have a child. So he asked her about herself. Who are you? So she told. Then he created a fog. There was a small island in the middle of that Yamuna river. They were in Yamuna river. There was a small island in the middle. He stopped there. He created a fog, completely covered that whole place. And then told her that I will be blessing you with the child. And then she says she was scared. She said, I was scared. I was also scared I was also scared of the Rishi Shapam. But then he gave her a boon. What was the scene was, until that time, she was born of a fish, right? So, there used to be a great stench coming from her body. So he said that will go. So then what happened is, instead of that, there was a divine fragrance started coming from her, that fragrance could be felt a mile away. Wherever she was, 1 mile away, fragrance will be there. So earlier she was called Matsya Gandha. Now she was called Divya Gandha. Yojana Gandha. Satyavati is the name. So this transformation he gave her. And he said, as soon as you have the child, you will become a Kanya again. And I will take the child and go away. So they were there in that island covered by fog, or by the power of yoga, immediately a child was born. That was Vyasa. So she tells Bhishma, Yo vyasya vedans chaturans tapasa bhagavan rishi. My son is the one who classified the Vedas into 4. By his tapasya. He is a Bhagavan, he is a rishi. About her son, she tells him. That boy, she tells Bhishma, since he was dark-skinned, he was called Krishna. Since he was born in an island, he was called Dvipa. Krishna Dvaipayana, Vyasa. He is a Satyavadi. He is a Shamaparaha, absolute control of his senses and mind. Tapasvi. He is a Dagda Kilvisha. All his sins have been burnt. He has no sins. As soon as he was born, he got up and he and his father left. But before he left, he told me, Mother, if ever you are in Sankata, any difficulty in your life, think of me, I'll come. And he went away. When Adi Shankara was given sannyasa, permission for sannyasa by his mother, she said, what will happen to me? She is alone, widow, no other children. She didn't want to give him permission to take sannyasa. He took it somehow by the crocodile incident. Then he promised that he'll come to her before she died. Think of me. She came. So this promise Vyasa gives, saying to his mother, saying, if you are in any peril or any difficulty or any situation that you need to think of me, and I'll come. With that promise, he went away. But then she's kept track of him. So he knows he's now Vyasa, he's classified the Vedas into 4, etc. But all this is absolutely unknown to Shantanu, Bhishma, nobody knows. Satyavati, Queen Mother, quietly has kept that chapter of her life completely to herself. Now she reveals that chapter to Bhishma. So my son, if you agree, I will ask him. I will ask him to come and bless the princess with progeny. Bhishma says, wonderful. Wonderful. Vyasa, he knows Vyasa. He agrees. So she says, fine. She contemplates. She goes to her room. She contemplates Vyasa. And there he is. Tatshanam, says Vyasa was there. Tatshanam. Who says he was there? Vyasa says he was there. Bharata is written by Vyasa. Vyasa was there, Tatshanam, chanting the Veda. Hey, Gananantva is there, standing in front, chanting the Veda in front of his mother. He's come. And Bharatam says nobody could make out from where he came, when he came, nothing. He was there suddenly. She thought of him, she must have thought it takes a little bit of time, but he's there in front of him, chanting the Veda, etc. And she couldn't control her happiness. Seeing this, her son after such a long time, she couldn't control her happiness. Tears of affection started streaming from her eyes when she actually saw him, and she went and embraced him, etc. And Vyasa, he had brought his kamandalu of water. He did abhisheka to his mother with his water, it seems. All of that. from his Kamandalu. And then he told her, Mata, Bhavatya yadadipretam tadaham kartum agata. Whatever it is that you desire, to do that, I have come. Shadhimam, command me. Command me. Dharma tattvangye. O you who know dharma, command me. Karavani priyam tava, I will do what pleases you. What a thing for a son to say to her mother. Come on. Very difficult. Bhavatya yadavipretam tadaham kartum agata shadimam dharma tattvangye karavani priyam tava. That to a queen sounds like music. That's good. That's what they want. She was pleased, very pleased. But she's a queen, she's not going to immediately tell him, she'll sit down, etc. Then she calls the Purohitas, proper welcome is done for Vyasa with mantra ucharanam and all of that, etc. Argyam, Padyam, all that is to be done, proper welcome was done. He was made happy, he was settled down. Then she said, I need to speak to you. But then she told him, one on one, she said, my son, a child is born by the conjunction of the father and mother both. And therefore, both the father and mother have an equal right and authority on the child. As much as your Pita is, your Mata is also your Swami. On this, there is no samshaya, there is no doubt whatsoever. Now, by the dictum of Vidhata, by the will of that Brahma who controls destiny of all, by the will of the Vidhata and because of the Purva Janma, Punya that I did, the merit that I got from my previous birth, I got you as my son. Imagine Vyasa's mother, I got you as my son. And just as I got you as my son, later there was another son born to me, Vichitravirya. He is also my son, and he is no more. She says, just as Bhishma also, because he is your father's son, father meaning Satyavati's husband's son as well. He is your younger brother. So also Vichitravirya is your younger brother. Now, Vichitravirya is no more and there is no progeny, there is no Vamsha. The entire Vamsha has now, nobody is there. This Bhishma, your brother, Shantanu Nandana, he is a Satya Parakrami, he is absolutely steadfast on Satyam. And he has absolutely no buddhi whatsoever, interest, mind whatsoever to take on kingship or to further the progeny of this Vamsha. And so, keeping in mind the Paraloka Hitam of our Kulam, for propagating the Santana Parampara, I request your help. And Bhishma, I have discussed this with, and he agrees. This is for the good of all the world, my son. All creatures of the world, and you must do daya to the world and do as I ask. Your younger brother has two divine wives. Please bless them with children who will protect our Kula Parampara and give us prosperity. Vyasa says, Mother, you are a knower of both Paradharma and Aparadharma. You are a Mahapragya, a woman of extraordinary intelligence. And you are ever intent on Dharma. And therefore, keeping Dharma alone in mind, only for that reason alone, I shall do as you desire. What you have asked for has the sanction of the Shastra. Therefore, for my brother, that is Vichitravirya, who is no more, For my brother, I will bear him a son, who will be as Tejasvi as Mitra and Varuna, means the sun, sun, sun itself. But mother, for that, the two princesses, or whoever, whichever princess, will have to live according to certain rules for 1 year, for 1 whole year. They will have to live in a proper Shastra prescribed manner, completely controlling their senses, Jitendriya, and observing vrata, fasts, etc., so that they become completely pure, Shuddha. Without achieving absolute Shuddhatva, purity, they cannot approach me. Vyasa tells Satyavati. Satyavati tells him, my son, I understand that, but there is urgency. There is urgency needed here. The land has no king. Arajikeshu Rashtreshu Praja Anatha Vinishyati. If there is no one to take over the kingdom, the whole kingdom will become Anatha and it will get destroyed. Nashyanti se kriya sarva nasti vrishtirna devata. All activities will bear no fruit. No yajna will achieve any purpose. There will be no rain. No devatas will approach the kingdom which has got no king. So there is urgency in this matter. So please don't delay. 1 year and all she's saying is not going to work. Too long a time. Vyasa said, Mother, if I have to cut the prescribed amount of time, then it is essential that they do at least one vratam. One vrata they have to do. And what is the vratam? He tells. Vratam is this. It is essential that when they see me and my ugly form, they should not feel any disgust or fear. They should remain calm and peaceful. They should have complete control of their mind at that time. This is essential. They will have to put up with my gandha, my smell. They will have to put up with my smell, my rupam and my vesham, all three. They will have to put up with all that without getting perturbed whatsoever. This vrata they must do. She tells fine. So she calls the elder one, Ambika, daughter-in-law, and tells her, this is the calamity that the country is now facing. He lays it out properly, saying, we have a problem. I have discussed with Bhishma and we have arrived at a solution. And it is up to you. Our entire Bharata Vamsha is now adhina to you. It is completely under your mercy, O Ambika. She tells her son, daughter-in-law. You must save our Vamsha. And bear a son as valorous as Indra, the king of Devas. So Bharatam says, she managed to convince her with great difficulty. She protested, etc., but with great difficulty convinced her that for the greater, this is part, see, the princess of the land, there is some responsibilities that come with it. It's a part of that. You must do that, you must do that. For the Bharata Vamsha, she's the role she has to play, she has to play. So this, she said with great difficulty, was convinced her, told her that. Now, she tells her that date is fixed, etc. Stroke of midnight, he'll come to your room. you have a brother-in-law. He will come, stroke of midnight. He is Vichitravirya's brother. So Bharatam says she is waiting in the night, all decked up, etc. Only thing was she is thinking in her mind of Bhishma and all that. But a lot of thoughts, his mind was going, thinking this, that and the other. And then the door opened and this man entered. There was dark, black suit, etc. also on his body, and then he had a whole lot of ghee was smacked all over himself. It's a part of that uniform. So that is also lapped on him. And he's got reddish hair. He's got gleaming eyes. He's got dark red beard and moustache, it seems. He's looking like nothing in the world that she's ever seen or thought or dreamt of, even in a nightmare. And he walks into the room and in sheer fright she closes her eyes. Then Vyasa comes out and Satyavati asks him. Vyasa says, you will have a son. She will have a son. A great, valorous son who will be as strong as 10,000 elephants. And that son of yours, of hers, will have 100 sons. So the progeny will be there. But due to the dosha of the mother, that son will be born blind. She closed her eyes. Satyavati says, you wait. You wait. How can the kingdom have a blind king? So you must bless the family with one more son. He says, all right. Okay, I'll come later. And he goes away. Now, then, this son was born, blind. Then she again thinks of him in the prescribed manner. He again comes. Then he says, now this child is born, we want another child. So the same thing, all is done. Now this time, the other princess, Ambalika, stroke of midnight, he enters like that. Now, despite all the, I don't know whether Ambika told her or what it was, but despite all that, when he entered, now she didn't close her eyes in fright, but in sheer fright, she lost all her color. She became pale. She became pale when she saw him. That pale white, that's called Pandu in color. So when he told her, and he also told Satyavati when he came out later, saying that he'll have a son. But since she became so pale, the son will also be pale, and his name will be Pandu. He'll be a pale son. Now, Satyavati says, no, one blind, one colorless, pale kind of, it's not one more. You must bear one more child. He said, I'll do that later. He went away. Now this child is also born, Pandu. Then after that, she contemplated him again. He came. This time she called Ambika, the elder one, and said, listen, this time it has to be proper. It all depends on you. You have to ensure no fright, no nothing, complete control, all that she has told 100 times. What can she do? So no, this what she told Satyavati or what she didn't, etc. Fine. Stroke of midnight. Instead of herself, she had arranged one dasi. With her dress, her ornaments, everything she had put on her. Said, you go. Vyasa entered. This dasi, she was not afraid, or she was nothing, no disgust, etc. Proper mind control, everything Dasi had, which these two didn't have. Vyasa was pleased with her. He knew this which just happened, and Dasi is here. What will he hide from Vyasa? So he told that Dasi, now you will not remain a Dasi, don't worry. You will no more be a Dasi, but then you will have you will have a Dharmatma of a son. Your son will be a great Dharmanishtha. Dharmo vidurarupena shapatasya mahatmana mandavyasyaarthavatattvanya kamakrodha vivarjitah. You will have a son who is born because of the curse of a rishi called Mandavya. He will be Sakshat Dharmaraja. Dharma himself will be born to you as a son. He will be completely free of Kama and Krodha. Nothing. He will not have. Dharmaraja will be born to you. He blesses that Dasi. Now the story is being told by Vyasa to Ganesha. It is being told by Vaishampayana is telling this to Janamejaya. Vaishampayana is telling this to Janamejaya. This story is about Janamajaya's forefathers. After all, Janamejaya is the son of who? Parikshit. Parikshit is son of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is son of Arjuna. Arjuna is son of... It goes back. So it's about his forefathers who almost got completely wiped out from the face of the earth. So now this, when he hears about this Vidura being born as a son, because of Shapa of a Mandavya Rishi, Dharmaraja Sakshat being born, he's very, very curious. He says, what is it? What is it, Shapa? What happened? How is he? What is it? Please tell me, etc. to Vaishampayana. So Vaishampayana tells him the story, what happened. He says, there was this great Rishi called Mandavya. Mandavya Rishi was in the forest and it is great tapasvi, Mahayogi. And he was doing tapasya with both his hands up in the air and standing like that. Complete absorption in samadhi. He was in the forest, small ashram of his, and doing tapasya, great tapasya. Now one day as destiny would have it, a bunch of dacoits came there, having looted some place with a lot of loot. And they were being hot pursued by the king's guards. The police of that kingdom was in hot pursuit. They came running into the forest to hide themselves. And they chanced upon this ashrama of this rishi. This rishi was doing tapasya with his hands up, etc. They quickly sized the situation. They buried or whatever they did with that loot there. And quickly they scooted and tried to hide somewhere in the forest. Now meanwhile this, in hot pursuit, the guards of the king, they landed up and they found this rishi there. So they asked him, did you see the thieves? Did you see the dacoits? Where did they go? Tell us quickly because we have to catch them. Where did they go? Now our man decided that, world goes on, and what do I have to do with it kind of thing. He is doing tapasya. So he decided to maintain mauna. He didn't reply anything. He just continued his tapasya. They come, what do I have to do with it? He didn't say anything. Now these people, the police, they are not going to. So they, meanwhile, look around. So they start looking around. They found the loot there in the ashram. They left it there. So they said, nonsense. And then they quickly searched around. They caught hold of the dacoits also. They caught them also. And they decided, good, this fellow is not been cooperating. He didn't tell us the bloody loot in front of him. It has been here. They caught hold of him also. The Mandavya Rishi, they tied him up. They tied up the dacoits. They took them out to the king, saying, these are the rascals. This fellow, acting to be Rishi, he didn't tell us anything. They are all dacoits. The king said, put them in the stake here. Kill them all. Death sentence to all the dacoits. The stake means basically a spear will be there on the ground. Iron spear will be there. They will be put on that spear. They'll die. This is the punishment to be given to the dacoits. Now this tapasvi, yogi, Mandavya, he is sitting in samadhi like this. When they have to execute him, he is sitting on the ground in samadhi. So they lift him like that and they put him on that stake. Other dacoits had to die. But this man not dying. His body is there. It's stuck on that spear, that stake. He's sitting like that. Nothing is happening to him. I mean, he's very much bleeding, everything, all that is there. Terrible pain, but he's there. He's not dying. Shuli pe chadana, it's called in Hindi, na? He's on that. So he says, okay, no, this is where he has to do tapas. So he is doing tapasya there. He continues his tapasya on sitting in that spear or stake or whatever. But he's in terrible pain. And in his mind, pain, you have to do something. So sometimes in his mind he would start calling upon his other rishis, etc., saying, come, come. Other rishis will take the form of birds and come to see him. What is wrong? Like that they see, and they see this Mandavi Rishi on the stake. So they asked him, why are you suffering like this? Why are you suffering like this? So he says, I have no idea why I am suffering like this, but I am. So these birds would come and go, and then these guards are watching funny things happening. Guy is also not dying. So they realized that this is koi Mahatma, this is not an ordinary person who is sitting on that. He's yogi, Parama yogi. So they go to the king and say, this man is, we caught, he seems to be some kind of a yogi. He is not dead, but he is in terrible pain, and all these birds are coming and he is talking to them. We don't know what is happening and all that. So the king said, my God, I made a mistake. By mistake, I might have sentenced a rishi or somebody. So quickly with his ministers and scholars, etc., he decides and talks and then says, I personally will have to go for this one. So he himself comes and talks to the rishi saying, you must forgive me, I didn't know who you are. In your large heart, you must somehow find some reason to forgive me, etc. He tells that rishi. Rishi after all is a yogi. So he says, it's not your fault, It's not your fault and all that. I'm not angry with you. So king orders, remove that. Let's take him from that stake. So they break that stake and they try to remove that stake from his body. It doesn't come out. It's so deep into his body. So all they can do is to cut it at the point where it goes into his body. They cut it. So the ani part of the sharp part, the agra part of the spear is stuck inside his body. The rest of it they remove. So with that, now he has to proceed in his life. With that, so he's called Animandavya from now on. So with that Animandavya, with that painful damn thing stuck into his body, he has to now proceed in his life. He goes here and there, etc. He does his tapasya. All of that is fine. One day, in his various wanderings, he decides he must find out. So he goes to Dharmaraja, who is in charge of administering justice. He goes to Dharmaraja and asks him, I need to ask you this. Why have you blessed me with this? What is the reason for you to bless me with this? He says like this. When you have in your life with a sharp reed like a nail, you pierce the back of butterfly or dragonfly or something. Pierced its back, and many of them you used to pierce. You used to like piercing the back of these with that sharp needle-like reed. Salpameva yatha dattam danam bahugunam bhavet adharmameva viprashe bahudukha phalakpradaha. So Dharmaraja says, just as small amount of dhanam that you give, if you give, it will come back in many forms, in multiple ways you will gain from it. Similarly, small amount, if you do adharmam, even if it is done small amount, the result will be bahudukham. You have done. You have pierced the back of patingas, butterflies or dragonflies. This guy has no memory of doing any such thing. But when did I do this? I don't remember doing any such thing. When did I do this? You tell me now. You did this when you were a child. I was a child. I did this. She says, don't you know Dharma? She asked Dharmaraja. Don't you know Dharma? He says, why? Don't you know that anything that a child, any person, anything done by a child who is below 12 years of age carries no papa whatsoever? Nothing gets written in the karma diary for a child, for something a human being less than 12 years old does. And I did this before that. This cannot be held against my account. Don't you know that? Somehow Dharmaraja has missed that point. He says, since you did not know it and you have made me suffer like this, you have to suffer. You will have to be born on earth. And also, I am rewriting your law. I am increasing that age from 12 to 14. Anything a person, human being at less than the age of 14 does, he cannot be held accountable against him or her as karma. Cannot be punished for that. So 12 to 14 he increases, curses Mandavir, the Dharmaraja, that he would be born on earth. And that is the one who was born as Vidura. He was a person who knew all Shastras. He had no greed. He had no anger. He was a Dirghadarshi. He was a peace-loving, absolutely wonderful man who was the brother of these two. The eldest one, the blind, Dhritarashtra. The second one, the pale, Pandu. And the third, the lesser of the brothers, Vidura. There's a little story from Swami Akhandananda Saraswati's Pavan Prasang, very little one. I'll tell that and we'll conclude. It's about this Siddha Purusha, a sage, who is going in a town or village from house to house, and he's asking in Hindi. He's standing in front of the house and he's asking, shouting to the people in the house, "Koi kabr hai? Koi kabr hai?" Meaning, is there any coffin? Do you have coffin? Do you have coffin? People say, some madman has come asking if you have coffin. Go away, go away. He's going on. Finally, he comes to a house. He says, "Koi kabr hai?" So one guy comes out and asks, "Koi murda hai? Is there any dead body?" He says, "Hai." Siddha says, "Yes, there is." He says, "Murda hai to kafan hai. Kabr hai." He says, "If there is a dead body, then the coffin is there. This house is a coffin." He says, "Okay." He comes in. He considers his own body as a dead body. So he's saying, can I have a place to stay? Can this body have a place to stay? So he says, if there's a body needing a coffin, this coffin is yours. You may have used this coffin. So like Mandavir Rishi, he comes into the house, he sits down and there it is. I mean, he doesn't have any other care, he's sitting there. One fine day, some thieves come to that house. This owner of the house is not there. In the night time, thieves come to that house. They start stealing. Now our man is least concerned. No? But he doesn't sleep in the night. No? He's in Samadhi. You can see clearly that thieves have come, they are stealing. They are taking everything in front of him. They see that this fellow is no problem. Or they don't know he's there. I don't know, whatever. They take the things and go out. Now he feels that the owner of the house, after all, has given me this coffin. I should not let his house be robbed in my presence when I am there. So he quietly goes after them to see where they are going. They go and bury it somewhere. So he sees that, he comes back and goes back into his Samadhi and all that. The owner of the house comes and asks, "Whole house is, what has happened? What has happened? Did anybody come, etc.? Did you see?" and all that he asked. So he says, "Yes, come." So he takes him and he shows the place, "This is where your things are buried." So they take the thing, come back home. Then that owner of the house asks this Siddha, "Kabar satya hai ki murda satya hai? Which is real? What was true? Was the coffin true to its nature or was the dead body true to its nature?" That's the story I want to leave you with. Har Nama Parvati Pataye Janaki Kanta Smaranam Gopika Jivana Smaranam Vetrivel Muruganukku Sri Sadguru Swaminah Sri Anjaneya Swaminah